Coconuts. Whoa. Coconuts are probably one of the greatest gifts from the Creator ever. I mean, where do you start with that? Like, coconut water is one of the greatest healing liquids that we know of. And what they did in Vietnam is that they would use coconut water to intravenously, they would inject someone in it when they lost a lot of blood. Because what we found out is coconut water is about 55% identical to our blood plasma. Whoa. And the other 45% is chlorophyll, identical to chlorophyll. Coconut water, chlorophyll. Green vegetable juices, coconut, cashew, chocolate. You got those two things, I mean, you're rocking. And the meat of coconut, I mean, like coconut oil, I mean, how ridiculously abundant are we really? I mean, I used to buy into the whole, like, limitations and scarcity and, you know, we have to hoard everything. I mean, there's so much ridiculous abundance just to have coconut oil. I mean, if anyone has like thyroid disorders or like an underactive thyroid, it's been shown that coconut oil has certain compounds in it, the saturated fats and the medium chain triglycerides that start to get our thyroid going, and that is what's behind our metabolism, and that's what's behind weight loss. Like, for example, there's something called Syndrome X, which is basically when someone's trying to lose weight, and maybe anyone's had this experience when you're trying to lose weight, and then you get to this point where it's like no matter what you do, you can't lose that last 10 pounds or whatever, right? No, I talked to a lot of women, and this seems to be a reoccurring thing. A lot of women have thyroid issues. And that comes from all the pollutants that we've had. Our lungs, by the way, our lungs, before our fat cells, our lungs are absorbing the majority of like the toxins that are coming from our atmosphere, and it's getting into our thyroid, so it's deactivating our thyroid. And what's really interesting about that is that there's a guy named Dr. Ray Peat. In the 1940s, he documented about farmers that originally, before farmers were feeding, like they would try to fatten up their pigs, right? And what they tried to do is they're like, hey, we're going to use all this coconut oil because obviously it's high in fat, right? So they would feed all their pigs all this coconut oil, and what they found out was the pigs started losing weight. And the pigs became more active. They were starting to run around like dogs. And they're like, whoa, wait a minute. That was not what we were trying to do. So what they did, they got them off the coconut oil and they started feeding them like grains and corn and soy and all this stuff. And then it fattened them up right away, right? So coconut oil is, in my opinion, one of the greatest weight loss tools and thyroid activation tools, and get your metabolism going, right? Just kind of get that back in calibration. Let's talk about one more superfood because this is really fun. Is there anything like, can anyone throw something out? Avocado is, okay. Avocado is one of the most important foods on the planet. It's one of the most abundant foods. Obviously here in LA, I'm noticing when I go to like Air One or any kind of grocery store, they have those big, plump, like Mexican avocados, right? I'm from the Bay Area before I moved over here, and we get these little knockoff avocados, like little, I mean, we thought they were really good, but now I'm like, those kind of swag, like.
These are just right now. I mean, they weren't a month ago.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I was right about that.
Oh, wow.
For the first time, and we just moved here, so don't think we have all the time.
Well, now we do, because I just moved here, so they're good. So we're going to make sure that they keep the line going.
It's special.
Okay, cool. Well, that's interesting because I do know in Mexico they do produce some of the best avocados out there. And I noticed when I cut into it, I'm like, well, this is like really oily. This is really like creamy, you know? It's like ripe. It's like, boom. It's like cream cheese. So here's the thing about avocados. Avocado is the greatest meat and dairy replacement going. I mean, people can get off the meat, but then it's like the cheese, right? And then we go from like pasteurized, homogenized, antibioticized, sterilized, you know, the whole show cheese, and then we go on to raw cheese. And this is kind of how it works. We move up the ladder, you know, we kind of make upgrades. So then we go to raw cheese. And if you're good with that, great, awesome. But if you want to get off the, you know, we don't want to be on that totally. So like, you want to take breaks. You know, so if you do want to get off cheese, meat for sure, avocado is the best replacement you're going to find. It's thick, it's got so much nutrition, so much protein, so many important fatty acids in it, and it gives you just that right calories. Because the thing about raw foods is that you have to find what your calorie source is going to be. Does that make sense? Like if anyone's been on raw foods for a long time, you know after a while you've done all the cleansing, you start to like, man, I'm kind of hungry. Right? And then you start binging out on nuts, and it's like, that's not really, it's like, that doesn't quite work either. So avocado is just amazing.